A former Major League Baseball coach is now suing the New York Mets for discrimination. 86-year-old pitching coach Phil Regan says he was let go because of his age.
He was fired after the 2019 season. The lawsuit says that the team thought that he was too old and not because of his performance. Prior to his exit, Regan takes credit for improving the Mets' pitching stats, and his suit is demanding unspecified damages. The question now is, does he have a case with this?
We're taking it up in National Report Court for the purposes of this segment. Former prosecutor and constitutional law attorney Ameer Benno will be taking the side of Mr. Regan, and on the defense, defending the Mets organization, former federal prosecutor Doug Burns. Gentlemen, welcome, and thanks for coming on. Ameer, let me start with you. If you could walk us through Regan's case, what evidence does he have of age discrimination?
Well, at the time, the GM of the Mets, Brodie Van Wagenen, told him specifically that they were not retaining him because of his age. They wanted somebody younger. And after having done a demonstrably good job of lowering the team's ERA, he was then sort of relegated to a minor league pitching coordinator position. And so anytime that you remove some benefit or you demote somebody as a result of their age. And by the way, this is not under federal. This lawsuit was not brought under the Age Discrimination in Employment Act, which is a federal act, but under more protective statutes in New York State and New York City, because Queens, where the Mets play, is within New York City. So they have a very protective age discrimination statute, as does New York State. And so he's saying that he was punished or penalized as a result of being 82 at the time in favor of somebody who came in to replace him who was 50 years his junior. That states what they call a prima facie, or at first blush, age discrimination.
Yeah,
that's the case.
Experience, too, is what a lot of people want when it comes to sports. But, Doug, I want to get to this. His legal team had this to say about the case, quote, Phil, he's the first to crack jokes about his age. However, there is nothing funny about a person being told that they are being passed over because their employer wants someone younger. That's discrimination, plain and simple. Doug, what's the defense of the Mets organization against this suit? Would it be relevant if there was any age in his, like a clause in his contract about his age? Should they address this?
No, it's sort of the classic example, John, of the difference between legal technicalities and sort of common sense and jury appeal. Ameer's right. Obviously, the former general manager made a comment about his age, but you have to look at that in the overall circumstances. Phil himself used to joke about his age, and he said, quote, "At my age, whatever happens, happens." That's before the decision in 2019. Also, he was interim coach. To me, that's very important because everybody knows from sports that interim coaches often don't get the final position. And also, the Mets fired their manager, Mickey Callaway, after the 2019 season. Even though the pitching staff had improved, in fairness, and that'll come out in court. But the realities here are that they hired an 82-year-old to be a professional sports coach. To me, that's pretty open-minded by the Mets. But again, he's going to try to make this prima facie case. But I think the overall circumstances are that he used to joke about his age all the time. And the comment by the GM may not be quite as, toxic as everybody is saying.
Ameer, will the jokes land in court for your client?
You know what? The allegation is it's not a joking matter. And the allegation isn't that it was a joke. It was, in fact, I'm looking at the complaint here that the GM specifically informed Mr. Regan that he wasn't being retained due to his age. They said he did a tremendous job, but stated that they felt that he was too old and that they wanted a younger pitching coach who would be around long term. And so it wasn't in the context of making some sort of humorous remark about his age. I'm sure he did that to himself, but it was specifically telling him, sorry, we want somebody who's going to be around for much longer than we expect you to be. And that's like a classic age discrimination comment. Whether we believe that or not, whether that can be proven to convince a jury, that's always debatable.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter how old we are. We always kind of poke fun at ourselves about our age. But, Doug, I want to get the final word from you. Should the Mets owner, though, Steve Cohen, and other executives in the organization actually be worried about this individual suit? Could this potentially cost them long term?
Well, I don't think they're all that worried about it, but I think implied in your question, and you're right, is, are there some backstories here in terms of the relationships? That starts developing. And then, of course, Steve Cohen and the Mets may decide to settle the matter. It's also unclear, by the way, when he was terminated, and I'm using the air quotes, as the pitching coach, I think he may have stayed on in the Mets organization. That's also going to be developed to a great extent. So I don't think they're worried about it, but at the same time, the GM's comment, very worth repeating at the end here, was very unfortunate and ill-advised to say, you're too old.
Yeah. Well, one thing's for certain, the relationship between the organization and him are probably a little tense now, I'd imagine. But yeah, we'll wait to see. Yeah, I would think so. We'll wait to see how this plays out. Amir, Doug, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate your insight.